You know that feeling. You spend an hour with a specific person, maybe a friend, a family member, a colleague, and when they leave, or when you walk away, you feel like something has been taken from you. Not just tired, drained, hollowed out. Like you need to lie down and recover from simply being in their presence. And the strangest part is that you cannot always explain why. Nothing obviously bad happened. There was no argument. No crisis. No dramatic moment. Just a conversation. And yet you feel completely empty in a way that takes hours, sometimes days, to recover from. This is not your imagination. This is not you being oversensitive. There is a very specific and very well documented psychological reason why certain people drain your energy just by being near you. And once you understand it, once you can see exactly what is happening and why, you will never be confused by that exhaustion again. By the end of this video you will know exactly who the energy vampires in your life are, what they are doing psychologically that produces that specific exhaustion, and precisely how to protect yourself without burning every bridge. When we talk about energy vampires, we are not talking about something mystical or metaphorical. We are talking about a very specific and very real psychological and neurobiological phenomenon. Every social interaction requires energy. Your brain is constantly working during any human encounter, reading facial expressions, processing tone of voice, monitoring for threat or safety, managing your own emotional responses, calibrating what to say and how to say it. With most people, this process runs in the background without much conscious effort. The interaction feels natural. The energy cost is low. But with certain people something very different happens. Your threat detection system, the part of your brain managed by the amygdala, activates at a higher level. Your nervous system goes on alert. Your cognitive load increases dramatically because you are simultaneously managing the conversation and monitoring for something that never quite feels safe. This heightened neurological activation is genuinely exhausting. It consumes far more energy than a normal interaction. And because it often happens below the level of conscious awareness, you do not notice you are doing it, you walk away feeling drained without being able to explain what just happened. The exhaustion is not emotional weakness. It is the very real physiological cost of having your nervous system run at high alert for an extended period. Not all energy vampires drain you in the same way, and understanding the different types is essential because each one requires a different response. The first type is the constant crisis creator. Everything in their life is an emergency. Every problem is catastrophic. Every conversation is dominated by their latest disaster, and they need your full emotional attention, your reassurance, and your energy to process it. The crisis is always real to them. But the pattern, the relentless generation of catastrophe that requires your emotional labor, is what makes them draining. The second type is the passive-aggressive underminer. They never say anything directly negative. Instead they operate through subtle comments, loaded silences, and thinly veiled criticism that leaves you feeling vaguely bad about yourself without being able to identify exactly what was said. You spend enormous mental energy trying to decode their communications, which is exactly as exhausting as it sounds. The third type is the one-upper. Whatever you have experienced, they have experienced more. Whatever you have achieved, they have done better. Whatever pain you bring to the conversation, they redirect back to their own. Your experiences are simply a launching pad for theirs. The fourth type is the emotional black hole. They take everything you offer, support, advice, time, attention, and it disappears without acknowledgement or reciprocation. No matter how much you give, it is never enough. And you always leave feeling like you failed somehow, even when you gave everything you had. Not everyone is equally affected by energy vampires, and understanding why empathetic people are significantly more vulnerable is one of the most important pieces of this puzzle. Highly empathetic people have what researchers call a more active mirror neuron system, the neurological network responsible for feeling what others feel. When an empath is in the presence of someone in distress, their brain does not simply register that the other person is upset. It begins to actually simulate that distress internally. They feel it. Not as strongly as the person experiencing it, but genuinely, physically, in their own nervous system. This is what makes empaths such powerful friends and caregivers. They do not just understand your pain intellectually. They feel it alongside you. But in the presence of an energy vampire, someone who is chronically in distress, chronically negative, or chronically demanding, this same gift becomes a profound vulnerability. The empath's nervous system is running a constant emotional simulation of the energy vampire's state. They are processing not just their own experience of the interaction but a neurological version of the energy vampire's experience too. The exhaustion this creates is not imagined and it is not weakness. It is the very real cost of a nervous system doing twice the emotional work of everyone else in the room. One of the most powerful reasons people remain in draining relationships with energy vampires long after they have recognized what is happening is guilt. And this guilt is particularly cruel because it exploits exactly the qualities that make you vulnerable to energy vampires in the first place. Your empathy, your loyalty, your genuine care for other people. The guilt sounds like this: they need me. What kind of person abandons someone who is struggling? They do not mean to be this way. If I pull back, I am being selfish. And underneath all of those thoughts is a deeper, quieter belief that your needs, your energy, your well-being are less important than the needs of the person draining you. This belief did not form randomly. For most people who struggle with guilt around energy vampire relationships, it connects directly to early experiences where their needs were consistently treated as secondary. Where being helpful and available was how they earned love and safety. Where having limits was met with disappointment or withdrawal. The energy vampire did not create this guilt. They found it. They found a person whose psychological architecture already had a door labeled "My needs do not matter as much," and they walked right through it. Recognizing this is not about blaming yourself. It is about understanding that the guilt keeping you stuck is not an accurate moral signal. It is an old wound being pressed on by someone who benefits from your inability to protect yourself. Understanding what energy vampires are actually getting from your energy, what the psychological function of the draining behavior is for them, changes everything about how you see the dynamic and how you respond to it. Energy vampires are almost never aware that they are draining you. In most cases, they are not deliberately trying to exhaust you. They are trying to regulate their own internal experience, and you have become their primary regulation tool. The constant crisis creator generates drama because anxiety and chaos are their default internal state, and having someone else engaged in the crisis with them temporarily relieves the pressure of carrying it alone. The passive-aggressive underminer uses subtle criticism to manage their own feelings of inadequacy. Making others feel slightly smaller temporarily quiets the voice in their own head that tells them they are not enough. The emotional black hole keeps taking because they have a bottomless internal deficit, a childhood wound of not being seen or valued, that no amount of external attention can fill. In each case, the energy vampire is not taking from you because they are evil. They are taking from you because they are empty, and your fullness, your attention, your care, your energy, temporarily fills something in them that they have never been able to fill themselves. Understanding this does not mean you stay. It means you stop taking it personally. Their drain is about their emptiness, not your inadequacy. The drain that energy vampires produce is not just psychological, it manifests in very real, very specific physical symptoms that most people never connect to their relationships. Chronic fatigue after social interactions, particularly with specific individuals, is the most common. Not the pleasant tired feeling after a full day of enjoyable activity, but a bone-deep exhaustion that seems disproportionate to what actually happened. Headaches that appear during or immediately after time with certain people. A tight feeling in the chest or stomach that begins when you know you are about to see someone and does not fully release until well after the interaction ends. Disrupted sleep following time with draining people, your nervous system staying activated long after the interaction should be over, replaying conversations, processing residual tension. A general sense of heaviness or flatness, a loss of motivation, creativity, and joy that follows extended time with someone who consistently takes without giving. These physical symptoms are not psychosomatic in the dismissive sense of that word. They are real physiological responses to a nervous system that has been running on high alert. Your body is telling you something your mind has been trained to ignore. And learning to listen to those physical signals, to treat them as reliable data about the people in your life, is one of the most protective things you can do for your own well-being. One of the most important and most practical questions about energy vampire relationships is how to protect your energy without simply cutting everyone off, because the reality is that many energy vampires are people you love, people you are related to, or people you cannot simply remove from your life. The answer lies in what psychologists call strategic distance, a deliberate, managed reduction in the frequency, duration, and emotional depth of your interactions, without a complete severing of the relationship. Strategic distance looks like seeing the draining family member at family events rather than one-on-one. It looks like keeping conversations with the crisis creator on the surface, engaging without fully absorbing. It looks like limiting the amount of emotional labor you offer in each interaction, being present without being fully available. It looks like having an exit strategy before you enter the interaction, knowing in advance how long you will stay and what you will say to leave. None of this is cruel. None of this is abandonment. It is the deliberate management of your own nervous system, the recognition that you cannot pour from an empty vessel, and that protecting your energy is not selfishness. It is the prerequisite for being genuinely useful to anyone, including the people who drain you. Knowing how to recover your energy after an interaction with an energy vampire is just as important as knowing how to limit the drain in the first place, because no matter how well you manage these relationships, there will be times when you come away feeling depleted. The first and most important recovery tool is solitude. Not passive screen time, genuine solitude. Time alone without input, without demands, without anyone needing anything from you. Your nervous system needs quiet to return to its baseline after being on alert. Even 20 minutes of genuine solitude can begin to restore what an hour of draining interaction took. The second recovery tool is physical movement, specifically the kind that is rhythmic and mindless. Walking, swimming, running. Movement that occupies the body without taxing the mind allows the nervous system to process and discharge the accumulated tension from the draining interaction. The third is conscious reorientation, deliberately spending time after a draining interaction with people or activities that fill you rather than empty you. Calling a friend who leaves you feeling energized. Doing something creative. Spending time in nature. The goal is not distraction but genuine replenishment, actively replacing what was taken with something that restores. And the fourth, perhaps the most underrated, is simply naming what happened. Not to ruminate, but to acknowledge. I spent time with someone draining and I am tired because of it. That naming, that simple act of connecting the cause to the effect, prevents the depletion from turning into a vague, sourceless exhaustion that you cannot address because you cannot identify it. There is a point in some energy vampire relationships where strategic distance is no longer enough, where the drain is so severe, so consistent, and so damaging to your health, your peace, and your sense of self that the only genuinely protective response is to significantly reduce or end the relationship entirely. Knowing when you have reached that point is not always obvious from inside the dynamic. But there are clear signals. When your health, physical or mental, is being consistently affected by the relationship. When the anxiety of knowing you will see this person begins to color entire days or weeks in advance. When you find yourself editing who you are, what you say, and how you feel in order to manage their response. When every interaction leaves you less able to show up for the other relationships and responsibilities in your life. When you have tried strategic distance, when you have tried communicating your needs, when you have tried every approach available to you, and nothing changes because the energy vampire either cannot or will not change. These are not small signs. They are the accumulation of a relationship that has gone past the point where management is possible. And choosing yourself in that moment, choosing your health, your peace, and your capacity to live fully is not abandonment. It is the most honest and most courageous thing you can do. For yourself. And ultimately, even for them, because enabling a pattern that drains you serves neither person in the relationship. Beyond managing individual energy vampire relationships, there is a broader and more empowering practice, building a life that is structurally protective of your energy, so that individual draining relationships have less power to derail you. The foundation of an energy-protective life is knowing your own energy, understanding specifically what fills you and what empties you, and treating that knowledge as non-negotiable information rather than a preference you can ignore when it is inconvenient. This means scheduling recovery time the same way you schedule commitments, not as a luxury but as a necessity. It means being deliberate about the ratio of draining to energizing relationships in your life, not ruthlessly cutting everyone difficult, but consciously ensuring that the people who fill you significantly outnumber the people who empty you. It means developing what psychologists call an energy audit practice, periodically reviewing the people and situations in your life and honestly assessing how each one affects you. Not whether you love them, not whether they are good people, but specifically how you feel before, during, and after time with them. And it means building strong enough boundaries, not walls, but clear and consistently maintained limits, that your energy becomes something you actively steward rather than something that is simply available to whoever reaches for it first. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to recognize that certain people consistently drain you and to respond to that recognition with action rather than guilt. You are allowed to have limits around how much of yourself you give, and to whom, and for how long. None of that makes you cold. None of that makes you selfish. It makes you someone who understands that your energy is finite, that it is one of the most valuable things you have, and that how you spend it determines the quality of every single area of your life. The people who are meant to be in your life will not require you to run on empty to keep them there. If this video helped you finally name something you have been feeling for a long time, subscribe right now. Every single week we go this deep into the psychology of what makes us human. The things most people feel but nobody explains honestly. Nobody else is going this deep and you do not want to miss what is coming next. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me who in your life drains your energy the most. You do not have to name them. Just describe how they make you feel. I read every single comment and your words might help someone else finally recognize the energy vampire in their own life. And next week, we are going somewhere even darker. The psychology of why genuinely good people are systematically targeted by manipulators, the specific traits that make kind, empathetic, and honest people the preferred targets of the most dangerous personalities. If you have ever wondered why it keeps happening to you specifically, that video is going to answer the question you have been carrying for years. You do not want to miss it. See you there.